Last night, a well-known platform for school districts across the country to keep track of their student records and communicate with families was hit by a cyber attack.
Springfield Public Schools is among the impacted districts, and parents are now reacting. Western Mass News reporter Matt Price joins us live in studio with more details. Matt, what are they saying?
Abby and Chris, Springfield parents have not held back their concerns following this recent cyber attack that has affected districts across the country and even internationally. As we've been covering since Wednesday night, PowerSchool announced this recent cybersecurity incident had involved unauthorized access to information related to both teachers and students. In fact, some of the exposed information include names and addresses. However, there are alarm bells being run as some districts across the country may have included some social security numbers as well as medical information. Local school districts are warning parents about the breach, including Agawam and Westfield. And earlier today, Springfield Public Schools sent a robocall out to parents to make them aware of what happened. They also put out an update alert on their website a little while ago, which reads in part, quote, PowerSchool has reported to us that the issue has been contained and that they do not expect the data involved to be shared or made public. Springfield Public Schools takes the privacy and security of our staff and students very seriously. The district continues to investigate and closely monitor this situation. Updates will be provided as new information becomes available. Western Mass News spoke with one mother, Mari Sanabria, who was getting ready to pick up her son today from Boland Elementary School. She says she was scared when she heard the district's robocall, and according to her, she is not the only parent who is worried.
I actually went on Facebook, and there were some groups, and we pretty much just went over, how this is happening to our kids. It's not fun as parents, and we shouldn't have to be dealing with things like that, when our kids are in school.
Sanabria also told us she thinks there should be more cybersecurity training and even retraining for the workers at PowerSchool. In the meantime, the company has given all customers the green light to continue using the system. Reporting live in the studio, Matt Price, Western Mass News.
Matt, thanks for that live report. And still ahead here on Western Mass News, it was reported that the flag at Riverfront Park wasn't at half-staff following former President Carter's death, and we did confirm it. Here's a look at the video we shot recently.